My next guest has written a fascinating account of the people who built Lehman up into a success and eventually brought the firm to its knees. Well-known characters such as Dick Fuld and Joe Gregory. She profiles numerous other people involved in Lehman along the way, including the wives, to get a true account of life at the Wall Street firm. And I've got the book here. Vicky Ward joins us. She's the author of this new book, Devil's Casino, which has gotten some rave reviews from various people on Wall Street even, saying that, this is a really true account of what had happened at Lehman. And, just actually, interestingly enough, coming from Jim Chanos's comment, saying that he expects indictments in this. I mean, when you were talking to these executives, did they ever give you any sense that they thought that they may have committed fraud?
Well, they were obviously all aware that they had some sort of lawsuits against them. Everyone was careful to say, well, this bit's on the record, this bit's off the records, because we have all these lawsuits. That they were aware that they were on dangerous legal territory. I would say Jim Chanos, I'm a huge fan and admirer of Jim Chanos, but, I think we have to let the lawyers do their work here because, as you know, to prove fraud, you have to prove intent, not just gross negligence, we need to let the lawyers do their work on that.
No doubt there was risk-taking. We just don't know if that was illegal, of course.
Huge risk-taking. I mean, what the book, I think, shows is how little Lehman needed to take huge risk in order to compete. That was how it competed, and it did that for years and years and years. And you see a pattern evolve. And in 2008, they made the wrong bet.
Right.
And they severely underestimated the economic crisis.
Right.
They'd put all this real estate on their balance sheet, and boom.
And they'd made some good bets during other crises and won out, and this just happened to be the one against them.
Precisely.
Okay, Vicky, as I was reading through the book, you were talking to the wives of Lehman. You were talking about the sacrifices they had to make. They had, they had long hours, executives, and they had to sacrifice time with their children and all of that. But, I was thinking to myself, I mean, that's not any different from any other working at any other Wall Street firm. I mean, what was different at Lehman?
Well, it's interesting. I think Lehman, in a way, was a bit like a cult. It reminds me, I sort of said this before, of John Grisham's book, The Firm. And I think that the men inside Lehman, it grew to be a place where loyalty...
A cult led by Fuld.
Well, more actually by his number two, Joe Gregory. There had always been, right from the years under American Express and Shearson, this notion of Lehman as one firm. And while the Lehmanites under American Express and Shearson were united and sort of fought against their oppressors as they saw their employers, that one firm thing was a very good thing. But once they became an independent bank, it actually turned into a dark thing. And loyalty was valued over ability. And first of all, Chris Pettit, the president, he ran the ship as a place where you had to be loyal.
But he was the good guy. He was a good guy, and then they all turned on him, and then that's when the dark days started.
Exactly, and then Joe Gregory turned it into this place where, he would fire you. He didn't like it if you looked too slovenly, if you were a little overweight, if you were too clever, and more importantly, if you disagreed on this question of risk. I mean, that became a huge problem. The wives were a mirror of the cult in many ways. You could tell Joe Gregory's wife, Nikki Gregory, was perhaps the biggest indicator to all the other wives. If she ignored you, you knew that your husband was about to be demoted.
Well, reading that, she sounded like the devil in the Devil's Casino. I mean, to be fair to her, I mean, I'm sure she's not. But, the way you had described her, though, was that she was kind of, you could judge who was going to be demoted or fired by who she was going to talk to, right?
Well, I think her husband, he was known as Joe the Axe and Darth Vader. He was clearly a very Machiavellian person, though I don't think he saw himself that way. And his spouse, obviously some of that rubbed off on her. And so they did look to her as to how she treated them, told them what they needed to know about their fate.